Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and thank you for joining me on the Computer Dynamo channel. Today I have a very special treat. It is actually a little bit of footage of my iMac G3, which you've seen in a previous video, one of my best videos, at least as rated by the viewership that it's received, about Apple ID and iCloud and all that kind of stuff and family sharing. But it was just used as a prop there. And today I'm actually going to make it the focus of the video. And this is really coming at an important time for me because I don't really use the computer. It sits in the guest room, and essentially I want to see it go to a good home. So it's going to a good buddy of mine, Frank. You know who you are. I feel like you're going to be a great steward for this machine. You know the history. You care about its place, this machine's place in Apple history and its importance and all that. And I think I know you're going to appreciate it, and that's why I wanted to go to you. But today I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of the machine and just make it a little bit of a memorial, video for my own memory of the machine that I salvaged. So basically, I was driving down the road one day with my dad, and we saw on the grass outside of this, what's essentially a preschool, a couple old machines, and this iMac was sitting there. I think it was face down, actually, on wet grass with keyboard and mouse, Pro keyboard and Pro mouse. The mouse was a black Pro mouse, and the keyboard was a white Pro keyboard, but it was very faded and yellow and filthy, actually. And so we salvaged it, and I took it home and I cleaned it up. And eventually, I took apart the whole keyboard and I cleaned that all really well. And now I actually use that in my desktop setup, which you can see in my desk tour video, if you haven't already. But essentially, I cleaned up the computer and I powered it on and realized that it would run, but it was actually still running macOS 9. From what I remember, and it was locked out. I was locked out because I didn't know the user password, and they were just getting rid of the computer, so they had no incentive to actually give that information unless I had asked, but I didn't. So, of course, getting macOS 9 install, suite of disks is not the easiest thing to do unless you're looking to spend some cash on eBay, which I wasn't looking to do. So I ended up obtaining a Tiger install disk, knowing that it was the most recent OS that was supported by this machine, and I actually erased the drive and loaded Tiger onto it. So I will flip the camera around and give you a little tour, explain some of the quirks and features, as Doug DeMuro would say, and show you what's kind of special about this machine to document it, both from my memory and to share it with all of you. So I hope you enjoy. All right, guys, so as you can see, we have my graphite 2001 iMac G3 slot loading right here in the flesh. And it isn't hooked up with its original peripherals. The mouse did unfortunately not work, so I got rid of that a long time ago. And the keyboard is actually used in my main desk setup, so I didn't want to dismantle it. But this is another similar keyboard, if at least in the way that it has chiclet keys, probably circa 2005 or so. But anyhow, it's about the computer, and let's take a little tour. So let's start out at the side. You can see the front is a CRT. I think it's like a 13-inch display, pretty small, low resolution, but it was pretty great for the time. And you can see it has a stand. Stand still has some tape or plastic on it, and I believe that is original to the machine when it shipped, so that's pretty cool. And we're going to take a little tour around the side, and you can see the dimensions really ramp up. This is not a 2D computer. This is a 3D computer, if you know what I mean. It's got curves, it's got shape, it's everything you want. Oh, wait, we're talking about computers, right? Okay, so anyway, you can see it has a very bulbous design, but back in these days, computers generally had CRTs hooked up to them. Not necessarily in an all-in-one design, but you generally had a CRT monitor connected to your tower. In this case, it was just all in one. You'd have the monitor on top, and the hardware for the computer itself underneath, and a nice little handle with holes, because I'm pretty sure this is a fanless thermal setup, so it cooled passively, so that's why you have a bunch of these holes to let it cool, and it's pretty cool. And it has a colored Apple logo. You can see the graphite. It almost has a bluish tinge in certain lighting. Beneath, you can actually see more grates, and this grate is actually covering a VGA port, which could have been used for outputting video to, let's say, a secondary monitor, or maybe even a projector. All right, and beneath that, there's actually a port where you can unlock it and replace the RAM, upgrade your memory, things like that. And here you have the power cord, power port. We're gonna head over a little bit more to the side, and you will see the I/O. And here we have a microphone jack, a headphone jack, or for speakers, 2 FireWire ports, I believe they're 400, a line for the 56K modem that I believe is built into the machine, which is pretty cool. Put a telephone line right in there, get some internet. Got 2 USB ports, I believe they are USB 1.1, and an Ethernet port. All right, those 2 buttons underneath, I'm not quite sure what they do, but if you know, please leave it as a comment below. All right, so we're gonna take a trip. You can see actually the innards of the computer, which is pretty cool. It might be a little dusty inside. I tried to dust from the outside, but you can see some of the CRT components. Actually, if you get up right in close and personal, you can see that's the power port and some of the board components underneath. And the translucent plastic is just a really cool feature for displaying the innards. All right, it's kind of hard because of the reflection, but anyway, come back around the front. I'm gonna take a seat, make myself comfortable. And here you can see we have the computer itself, and we have 1, 2 speakers, power button, which is pretty cool. It lights up, and I'll show you that in a moment. Slot loading, I believe it is a CD read write. I believe it can write, but I think it might just be read only. So really not sure about that. If you know, once again, this is 2001, the 4,1 iMac, let me know down below. Not 1, but 2 headphone jacks, so it makes it great for outputting audio to more than 1 headphone. Of course, if you're sitting there with a friend, or maybe in an educational setting, this would have been a pretty cool feature. And not something you find nowadays, or really much ever. And that's pretty much it from the onset. Oh, almost forgot, there's a microphone built in. And let's power this puppy up. So I'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to dim the lights first so you can really get an idea of the display. All right, and now that we have the lights dimmed, we're going to power this puppy up and see how it boots. You can hear it purring. Excuse the flicker. It really doesn't flicker in real life, but if you're familiar with the phenomenon that CRTs have with video cameras, then you'll understand why it flickers. But it's actually remarkably quick to boot up an OS that's really made for computers several years newer than this. You can see I have it set to auto login, no password. And I have, Office set up from 2004, and the PRAM battery is no good anymore, so it still tells me, oh, it doesn't remember the clock, the date, so I have to reset it, and problems may ensue, so you just hit OK. But it's pretty remarkable. I'll show you. If you go to the Apple, About This Mac, it'll show you. It's a 600 megahertz PowerPC, 384 megabytes of RAM, okay? It has a 40 gigabyte hard drive, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It powered on pretty quickly, and because it's running Tiger, it has a lot of the modern amenities. Of course, it can't run a lot of the newest software, but you can still write a Word document very easily, or create a spreadsheet. And as you can see, you can just quickly open something up. I'll close out this overlay. And you can easily type something. So I'll type something for you. All right, maybe you could see that. And maybe I can make that a little larger. I don't know. Maybe I can't. Or maybe I can. There you go. All right, so we're going to discard that. But you get the point. It's a pretty cute looking computer. Still works. Has a little bit of an annoying high-pitched sound. I believe that's the hard drive, which still passes diagnostics in a disk utility to verify the disk, but nevertheless, it's a little bit annoying. If you put it into sleep mode, it won't do that. Listen how quiet it gets. So once that hard drive spins down and you see the little glow, the spirit of the iMac has gone to sleep, but it's still awake. It's still not awake, it's still alive, I should say. Now when I tap a key, it'll wake up and the sound will come back on. It's dead silent. Instantly hear a little bit of that high-pitched squeal from the CRT, and then the noise from the hard drive spinning, but still functions. All right, guys, I hope you got something out of that. It was just a little trip down memory lane for me, something to remember the computer by when I no longer have it. It's a very heavy machine. It's probably, 30 to 40 pounds, so it's not something you really want to have to carry around too much, even though it does have a handle. But, it's going on to a better place now, where it's not going to be recycled or trashed. It's going to go hopefully into a collection where it will be used and hopefully used creatively. So until next time, don't forget to smash the like button, smack the subscribe button, and we'll see what is up next in the Computer Dynamo world, but hopefully exciting things, so stay tuned.